Coach Bergin, hey, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining me today. This is number 5 for you. You are the dean of college coaches who have been on all things Division III soccer. So I am, as always, appreciative of your friendship. So thank you.
I like coming back on. It's fun. I appreciate that you want to talk to a guy who isn't in the NCAA tournament, doesn't have the success of some of the guys you have on here, but we still have the same challenges everybody else does.
You know what? Good people are good people, and I only talk to good people. So you're in that. So, and I thought of you. Where was it? I think it was the Mount Union game that I watched, and I was like, I gotta reach out when the season.
Yeah, we gave him a good battle.
Yeah. They were good this year, I will say. I think
they're legit.
Thought they were
should have made the tourney, in my opinion.
Yeah. My heart bleeds purple, and I think they were robbed second year in a row. But what do I know? What do I know? Especially with the whole MPI thing. What do I know? I don't care about that stuff. Just pick them for. I won't talk about it anymore. If they would just pick them for the tournament, Yep. It would be that easy. So, anyhow, hey. Like I said, you're an old hat at this, so why don't you just tell me, how did your season go?
Well, I mean, marginally better record than a year before, so that's a good thing. Didn't make the OAC playoffs when we did a year ago, so that's not a good thing. But I will say this. A year ago, if you might remember this conversation, my assistant coach quit 10 days before the season started.
Yeah. We went to DePaul, right?
Yeah, really hard to do. So I spent all year without a full-time assistant. Mm-hmm. And in this business, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. So we hired someone, very happy with him. Colton Holdren has done a great job. And I feel like we're back moving in the right direction. Colton is somebody that I trust and is learning the game, is a good soccer mind. And honestly, I expect to be able to let him take the program over in a handful of years. If things progress like I think they will. So that was great. Boys bought into it, but the recruiting class was small because I was doing it by myself, so that didn't help us. We had 2 guys decide not to go to class as much as they should, and we counted on them for goals, and they were ineligible. It's simple. Go to class. You're going to do okay if you go to class.
All you have to do is show up. My experience was just show up. You show up, you get a lot of grace and latitude. If you don't show up, that doesn't happen. Nothing.
The professionals want to work with you if you show up. You don't show up,
correct.
You're not getting any help.
Correct.
So that hurt us. But we struggled to score goals. We did some good things. But we graduated a lot. And next year is going to be, an interesting year. We're going to have a big class coming in this year, I hope, which will be a lot of young guys. And, young guys make mistakes, but they're ready to go at it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So I have to ask, did you just break the news that maybe in a couple of years you're retiring?
7 years, 6 more seasons.
Oh, 6. Okay. All right. So it's not that breaking.
Not really breaking at all.
No, it's like, we'll talk about this every year until it's breaking that you are really retiring.
The strategy is I got a sophomore in high school. Wants to play for me. We're gonna ride this thing out until he goes. But I also want to have this succession plan. I want to be able to hopefully. Now, Larry Heiser, my AD, may say, nope, not doing that. We're going to do something different. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll worry about that. We got plenty of years to worry about that.
But that's a good point that you bring up, a succession plan, right? I wonder how many coaches actually think about that when they have, an assistant and they work, they try to figure out what happens when they're no longer around.
Yeah, I think it only probably happens to us old guys. Young guys probably don't think like that. But I care so much for the program and invested so much time and effort into the program. I want to be able to leave it to somebody who I trust and understands the little things that we do to make it special for the kids.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, you're a former player too, so it's like you literally
a lot of years in this program.
A lot of years in your right? Blood, sweat, and tears, and so. So All right, so you struggled for goals. I get that. I was actually looking at some of your stats, but it didn't look for it wasn't the lack of trying. Like it looked like just again stat wise. So I only watched a couple of your games, but it looked like you actually got to the final third, and it was just a matter of could you punch it in, and you came up short there, stat
Yeah.
wise.
Yes. As the season went on, that became the problem. Just putting it in the back of the net, we
Uh
created
huh.
the opportunities. Beginning of the year, we struggled because we were still trying to figure things out. But there was a stretch there in the middle of the season where we just couldn't score a goal,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't happening for us. And
Yeah.
it's hard to win games. You're not scoring goals.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a
And
game
we
of
battled.
goals.
We
Yeah.
played a good Roanoke side. We got
Yeah.
0-0 draw there. We were very happy with that. When we played Carnegie before we went into conference, and that looks really ugly because it was. But you also got to understand, if anybody got a yellow card in that game, I yanked them right away because
Yeah.
I wasn't going to risk having
Yeah.
losing somebody for the first conference game, which
Yeah.
is way more important. I had 4 yellow cards, so I yanked 4 starters in the first half.
Oh my gosh.
It just kind of spiraled out of control. We just said, all right, we're going to take our beating and move on. And then we turn
Yeah.
around and play Northern, and we played very defensively because they're
Yeah.
very good. And we were 4 minutes from getting a point that we really wanted out of it,
Yeah.
and we just couldn't clear the ball well. And the kid hit a shot, his first career goal, I was told, just
I
bombed
saw
it.
that it was a bomb.
Yeah,
Like highlight reel bomb of a shot. Look at this kid close. Not I don't want to say closed his eyes, but closed his eyes and swung at it.
yeah,
And yeah.
hit a heck of a shot. So
Yeah.
and then we played John Carroll really well. I thought we got robbed on a soft pen, and then we didn't get the soft pen on our side.
Yeah.
And their keeper made a great save on Reggie Grayek. So we did some good things. We
Yeah.
played well against good teams, but we tend to go up and down a little bit too much for my liking.
Yeah. Hey, just out of curiosity, how'd you like playing in Salem at Roanoke?
That was the main reason we went there when we brought them on the schedule last year because I wanted to go back and play in that stadium that
Yeah.
hosts the NCAA championship.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And the building that's right there, the
It's
4-story. Oh
amazing.
my goodness.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It was fun. The kids had fun, and it was fun when we got the draw because they were 15th in the country at the time.
Yeah.
And we battled that game.
Yeah. What's the best team you played this season?
It's gonna be probably Northern or
Uh-huh.
Mount. We played Denison in a scrimmage, so really can't count that. But they were by far the best team.
Mhm.
Denison's legit.
Yeah.
I think they can make a run in the tourney.
I do too.
But Northern's really good too.
Yeah.
And Mount, Krems just has them. They're just hard to deal with. So I would say those 3 teams. But if you don't count Denison because we didn't play them in a real game, then it's probably Northern or Mount.
You think Denison has it within them to make a run?
Yep, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon's a really good coach. They got
their progression has
program.
been. I mean,
I
since
don't know
he
if you've
took
seen their
over.
new stadium.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's like $4.5 million in. It's just,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Yeah. Their progression as when he first took over, and they won that NCAC his first year.
Yep.
Where they basically sat back on Kenyon and waited for the opportunity to get forward, and then they scored the one goal. But
Yeah,
I
they're
thought
good.
it was a masterclass. But
They
yeah,
smacked us in preseason. But I think that
Yeah.
the tough bracket this weekend, but I mean,
Yeah.
they're not getting any favors on the draw. I think they could play Mary Washington, I think, in the Sweet 16, which is not going to be easy. So we'll see.
Yeah, the pick for who you think's who could win it?
I don't. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I would like to see somebody from the Great Lakes region, but there's not a ton in it this year. But outside, I got the Kenyon. The old sentiment in me, I'd love to see Jay Martin go out with the title.
Yeah.
But that will be tough.
Yeah.
So somebody that we played or we normally play, love to see that happen. But I'm not going to be. I still think Denison's, if they can get through those first 3 games, they could make this run.
Yeah. Like they do have, like I said, they do have the talent. Like I watched a number of their games and always.
We probably just jinxed them.
Yeah, I do have some questions about them. again, sometimes they look disconnected to me. But again, it's hard for me on the video sometimes to
Sure.
really get a sense as to what's going on. But hey, what are your thoughts on John Carroll, this being their last year?
I love Dehan and Ante, the coaches,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to miss those guys because we're friends outside of the field. I'm not going to miss getting my butt beat by them. That's the one team that in my time back at Marietta, we're going on be 13 years next year, not beating them. Never beat them.
Yeah.
We tied them one year. So they've had my number forever.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to miss that part of it. Not going to miss the small locker room. They jam you in there. I will miss the coaches, the talk before the game and the banter during the game, if you will.
Yeah.
But they're, it's good. It weakens us a little bit, strengthens the NCAC, but gives me a better chance to do some big things. So, I mean, it's kind of a mixed blessing. More along leaning towards the side. All right, you're going. Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll see you at the convention. We'll see you at recruiting drills.
Going from the fryer to the frying pan, like he's not going to have it easy over there.
That's the one sport that the AD doesn't realize is going to be harder than every other sport. They're going to win probably football virtually every year, win basketball virtually every year. Baseball, they'll have to battle Dennison and Deegan over there. But soccer is going to be tough. They only take 4 for the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're one of the old ones that don't do that.
Yeah. Real interesting. I'm curious to see just that next year that sort of competitively how it shakes out. Again, a lot of new and how they can compete. So
it'll be interesting. They're good, so they'll do just fine. But there's not as much room for error. In 14 playoffs.
Agreed. Hey, what's going on at Marietta? I gotta ask, and we mentioned it before we started recording. From a sports perspective, it just looks like the profile is being raised. It looks like, again, from the outside, maybe it's because I watched and I see too much stuff, but Marietta as a whole is trying to raise its profile. I mean, am I missing? Do you think that's accurate or?
Well, I would say this: Larry Heiser has built a staff that's really kind of a veteran staff here. I mean, football, Andy Waddle's been here for 12 years. John Van Roel, men's basketball, is probably close to 20. Christy Newman on the women's volleyball side we're going on 8 or 9 years. So he's built a staff that has figured some things out. I mean, if you think about it, men's basketball is really good. Baseball's always been really good. Volleyball is legit this year. They're 22-0, 23-0.
Aren't they in the final?
They're in the OEC finals on Saturday, and they're 8th in the country, I think.
Yeah.
Andy in football was ranked top 20 until they lost them out this past weekend. If they play Carroll this weekend, it was a tough one.
It was.
A little bit of it. If they beat Carroll this weekend, they'll probably get a bid into the tourney, which would be the first time ever. Softball a couple years made the tourney. Women's basketball is making the tourney consistently. So the elevation has been raised. I do think it started with our previous president, Bill Rude, who invested a lot of money into it. And Larry's kept that bar set very high. We got a lot of athletes on campus. I think that the school would like to get more non-athletes, as we all would, but there's just not that many out there. And so the facilities are good. You know that. You've been on campus. And that certainly helps attract the student athlete, and it raises the profile of the school in various ways.
When you can't, right? I think a lot of schools, right, when you can't get non-athlete students as much as you would like, get the athletes.
I'm way too much in the know on some of this stuff because I'm on cabinet here at the college, which is crazy. Soccer coach is on cabinet, it's just because I'm a
corporate guy
position, but I understand the business. And athletics is very important to every small institution out there.
Hey, what's your talk to me about sort of your recruiting for next year? I'm sure now that you have an assistant and all that, sort of what does it look like? I don't need names, but just sort of what is
I
it that
feel
you're looking to
good.
build on?
Yeah, I feel good about where we are. The board is full. The names are, we have a lot of names, but we're going to have a big class. So if anybody's watching this that wants to come play, the opportunity to play next year will be great because we graduate 11 seniors, 6 of which started.
Yeah.
So we will be young next year. We're going to bring a class of, I think, of 15 in as our goal, which is big for us. We don't have the big rosters. We're not like some of these schools that have 55, 60 guys on a roster. We have 35. That's it, max. So I'm excited about it. We have, we're trying to get a few transfers, obviously, just to sprinkle in the different ages, so we don't have everybody graduating in 4 years. I don't have to go through this again. So I think it's going to be a good class. It's great having Colton. He's bringing them to me. You know me, I'm a sales guy. That's my background. Get them on campus, and I'll sell the heck out of them. And they see the facilities, and it shows really well. It's D3 though. You're kind of at the mercy of what the package is going to be. So we kind of got to have a large funnel to be able to get the numbers we need. But I do think we're in a good spot right now, way ahead of where we were last year. I mean, I just struggled with it last year, staying on top of it with all the things that I do. This year, Colton, go get him, bring him here, let me do my thing.
Yeah. Do you see anything different as a result of the D1 limits on rosters? Are you seeing more kids out there like saying, "Hey, okay, maybe I'll give Division III a try," or is that still?
I don't think it's trickled to us on the men's side as much as the women's side. If you're all over social media, you see a lot of young female soccer players who have to reopen their recruitment because of the restrictions. I've got friends on the women's side, and it hasn't hit everybody like that, but it has hit quite a few. Haven't seen it on the men's side just as much. I would like to see that happen for our benefit. I mean, I don't want to see somebody lose their spot, but we could use a couple of those guys that funnel down towards us. Because the D2 game, as you know, is heavy international. So they may work their way down to D3 programs. I think it will hit eventually, just not yet.
I just think it's inevitable. The roster size alone, like you said on social media, it's almost every day where I see. You're right. I guess it is on the girls' side where it's like I was committed. I had a roster spot, and now that roster spot is gone.
And I'm real curious to see how this plays out. Who's going to actually increase their scholarships? There'll be some, but not many because it costs money.
I've said this all along. I'm like, if you're in the top 20, top 25, maybe top 50 of D1 schools, it's probably not a bad thing. You probably have the money to spread around if you need it or want it. I don't think the rest of them are in great shape either financially to be able to say, like, sure, give them more scholarships. I don't think that's the reality of our entire higher education system right now. Is just the availability of students and money. I think,
it's mostly the haves and the have-nots. And even in the Power 4 group, there's still have-nots in there. So the academic world is not a great business to get into at this time because there's so much uncertainty on students, on what the NCAA's role is, some of these lawsuits. It's just very much unknown.
Back to soccer. You mentioned earlier about, you'd like to see somebody in the Great Lakes, either win it or get really far, as we were talking about Ohio Northern. Can you just talk a little bit about Great Lakes soccer? I think what a lot of folks do is they sort of go over the Great Lakes to get to, obviously the St. Olafs of the world and further out west and south. And maybe
there is really good soccer in this region. I mean, the NCAC, the top end of it is very high. The Michigan, the MIAA is really good. I mean, Calvin if you talk to Ryan, he's like, well, we're having it down here where they're still an attorney. I mean, I think that it has been long overlooked because the NESCAC, I mean, didn't 8 teams get into the tourney this year for the NESCAC?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'll refrain from comment.
That's another day, another conversation. But the Great Lakes region, if you want to count Western PA, Ohio, and Indiana and Michigan, good soccer there. And it gets overlooked. You're right. It gets overlooked as they go into the Illinois and Minnesotas and Wisconsins of the world. But you got Ohio Wesleyan and Kenyon who have long been good. Denison's in that mix now. Carroll's in that mix. Northern's been good for a long time. And Mount has popped into that mix. And you don't want to neglect Francescan over the PAC. So it's been really fun to watch, but it's not been great to coach against. The OAC is just a grind.
Oh yeah.
It's so hard, but the NPI, that whole world, I don't necessarily get that involved in it. I know Krem's at Mount. He worries about every little thing. We don't help him. We only win 6 games. But there's good stuff out there. I would like to see somebody from the Great Lakes region win the darn thing. I don't know if it's going to happen though, because I do think the NESCAC schools are really good. It's hard to beat them. And then you got the Virginias of the world, the Washington Lees of the world.
Oh my gosh, There's a lot of great regional soccer going on, without a doubt. And I'm not to say that, you don't
even want to neglect the southern part of the U.S. There's no D3s in Florida, but look at an Oglethorpe or an Emory in Atlanta. And I know Oglethorpe; they're really good, and he has a wonderful way of getting transfers coming back from somewhere big, and they play for him.
I'm curious to know from your standpoint. I'm totally going on a different direction on this, but what if you were to snap your fingers? What do you think Marietta needs from a soccer perspective? What would you need to? I don't know. I've always said, get the guys. I'll just say 20 to 30. The numbers 20 to 30 that go to Carroll.
Yeah. So here's my challenge. I'm in Southeast Ohio. All right, 2 hours from Columbus, 90 minutes from Charleston, West Virginia, 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh. That's number one is the challenge. John Carroll, it's a great school on the east side of Cleveland, really cool campus. I gotta believe, and I've never done it, but I gotta believe it's easier to recruit to because you're in a major metropolitan area. So we're asking guys to drive by a bunch of schools to come and visit us. Now, the trick is once you get them on campus, it shows really well. Great campus, great facilities, but you got to get them here. And then they're driving by all these other schools on the way to us. So if I could snap my fingers, and I would love to be able to transplant ourselves in a major metro area and have the same everything we have now, because it would be easier to recruit to that than it would be where we are today. But having said that, part of the charm about Marietta is its location. It's on the rivers. It's a neat small town. It's a historic town. It's long been a good academic institution, but it's hard to get kids to want to, travel. We used to be a lot of East Coast kids. We used to get a lot of Jersey kids, a lot of Connecticut kids, but they just don't want to travel that far nowadays. To get a young kid to travel 6 hours to go to school, you don't see that as much anymore as you did 10 years ago.
I also think there's, again, it goes to the regional strength of soccer, right? They don't have to go far to play competitive ball.
Yeah, because when the game wasn't as strong as it is today, D3 soccer, it would have been easier to recruit because you didn't have the good programs. But now, if you think about it, Cleveland's got lots of good soccer. Columbus has great soccer. So Pittsburgh's great soccer. So the big cities, you're competing a bunch of schools that are around there. It's hard. You got to have a little bit of a hook. And for us, the hook, I think, is the facilities.
Yeah.
Academically, yes, but I think the facilities, the fact that we get to keep the locker room all year long. It's a custom wood locker room. It's just really nice, in the building, the facilities, and all this stuff. But we got to get them here. I can say this all I want on a Zoom call or on a phone call or on a text, but until they get here and see it, then you can get them going.
And I will say, that was the one thing that surprised me about when I showed up there.
Yep.
I was like, wow, this is a really neat place. Like I don't know why. Like, again, it was one of those things. Like, I don't know why what was I expecting? Was I expecting a terrible place? I don't think so, but I was surprised at the facilities. I was surprised at the academic campus and all that stuff, right? And I just thought I'm like, wow, this is a neat diamond. Place. It's a diamond of a place. It's just a matter of finding it, right?
Yeah, it's a neat place. You just got to come look at it. And that, parents do like it when they come here because of the historic aspect of the town. There's the touristy things to do. Yeah. It's a small campus. Yeah. It's, things have changed it's been 40 years since I went to school here. So things obviously have changed.
Yeah.
But there's still some great virtues of Marietta. Yeah. And I will put our facilities up against anybody in D3.
Yeah.
And I'll put them up against a lot of D2s. Yeah, and even low-level D1s, because the fact that we have our own field, our own building, our own locker room, and you don't see that every day.
No. Like I said, I hate to say it in that respect. Sometimes you're battling perception rather than reality, right? The perception. 100%. Oh, D1, look at that. It must be great. Yeah, nah. I've been to a lot of D1 places. They're not all that great.
Yeah, we lose kids to D1 that you go, God. It's just D1. I get it, but the facilities are you're not there.
Yeah. So I got to believe you're taking a little bit of time, and then you're gonna get back at it in the spring. Is that fair to
the boys are off now till the end of the calendar year. Now they're doing their own things. They have open plays. They go out there and play, and that's kind of fun to watch them go do that, getting after it. But we'll get back after the first of the year. And we'll start, a conditioning program, but we'll start training pretty early in February because, as the NCAA is giving us more spring dates.
Yeah.
Or non-traditional dates, if you will. And we, being in Southern Ohio, can take advantage of that. Can't do that, in the northern part of the state. We can be out in February with no problem, and we will be. So we'll take advantage of 8 weeks, 3 times a week, and then have our spring game. And then it just flies. Before you know it seems like forever right now because it is. Yeah. But once we get to the second half of next semester, man, our season will be upon us before you know it.
Yeah. Well, it came this year was a perfect example. It was like, I don't know, February. I'm like, oh, it's so far away. And the next thing you know, it's like 2 weeks away. I'm like, what happened? But, hey, do you do, because for anyone who hasn't seen the Fields of Dreams I did at your place, the soccer building has a gym in it. Do you guys do a sort of customized weight training program?
We have weight programs for the guys that we will do. And we didn't lift as much in season this year as we did last year. But we will start that back up again, and it will be customized for them. This is not my area of expertise because if you remember, I'm tall and skinny. I don't spend a ton of time in the weight room, but I have friends who do and put together programs for us that the guys will do once we get back. And that will be as a team, and we're able to do that here in the building.
Yeah.
One of the perks.
Yeah, one of the perks, definitely. All right, Coach. This was great. Do appreciate it. Wish you all the best, and we'll be talking again as the season gets closer. You're more always look. This was number 5.
Yep.
You're always welcome to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 whenever you want.
Yeah, we got to get to 10.
Open invite. Open invite for you. So.
Well, we can talk anytime you want. Just send me a message. We'll do it. Love doing this. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.